Hello, can everyone hear us now?
Hey guys, how are we all doing?
Someone could just chuck in the chat that you could hear us. Yes, great.
Hooray!
Woo!
It's funny because Jack just said we may have some technical issues, and sure enough,
Yeah, we ran into it straight away. Sorry about that, guys. I was just saying, welcome to our first ever webinar. We may run into more technical issues for sure, as this is our very first webinar, which is really exciting. But also, if you guys do have any questions at all throughout this session, please feel free to chuck it in the chat there. And what we'll do is we're gonna answer some of those at the end. Spend about 10 minutes to go through them. So today's session, we're gonna go through a bit of a basic portal training session just to help you guys with some of your navigation, as well as any questions you may have. So it might be a little bit different for everyone's portal, what it will look like, but this is just pretty generalized and making sure that everyone feels more comfortable in the portal. I hope we get lots out of it. We will be running these every Tuesday moving forward. So if you feel like we've skipped over something a little bit quickly, or if you want to revisit something, please feel free to join us next week as well. This session is also being recorded, so we will have a posted version of this after for you to refer back to as well. So without further ado, we'll get stuck into it. If you also do have any questions, feel free to chuck in the chat. Matt will be looking at that, and we'll be answering back to those and also going into some of them in a little bit more detail at the end. Lovely. So I'll just log out here. Cool. So what we're looking at here is the GO1 login page specific to this portal. So everyone's will look a little bit different, and the idea being you can customize this to whatever you like to make sure it's on brand for your business and ensure that your learners know that they're in the right section. So what we're going to do here is just hit sign in, and this will direct us into the dashboard, or essentially what we call the home page. So a few people will have different ways of accessing. Some people might have single sign-on set up, or some people might just have the user so that they can put those straight away. Cool. So this is what we call our dashboard. Again, this is a customizable page, which is great. And what we can see here is a welcome banner image as well as a message. And this space is very useful for us to kind of help our learners with navigation or any help resources, such as please get in touch with XYZ if you're struggling with any sort of things on the portal. We can also use it as a space to put our visions and missions and things like that in here to kind of inspire our learners, which is always great. The next section down here that I've got turned on is what we call My Recent Courses. And this section here is great because our learners can log back in and continue where they left off. So anything that is currently in progress, you'll see will show up here on this page for you to continue that learning. Nothing will appear here until you are enrolled into a course or you are currently in progress. The next section down that I do have turned on is what we call activities. Now, this works similar to how a Facebook notifications page would be turned on. The beauty of this being that you can track all your own kind of enrollments, completions, and things like that. And you can see one here at the top is at now overdue. So we could quickly jump into that course and award and finish that off. Great. So what we're going to jump into now is the portal settings, which I need to quickly turn on. I apologize. But yeah, if you guys got any questions, Matt's just tracking a look at these there. And what we'll do is I might need to just quickly jump off. Right.
Now while Jack's just doing this, how many of you are looking at this for the first time? Just feel free to write it in the chat, just so we can kind of get an understanding as to who hasn't seen any of this before. First time from Mickey, fantastic. First time Mary, Steph. All right, cool. So as we go through it, if there's anything that you want us to perhaps go over again, just take note of it or just mention it to me. And what we can do is we could all send you, your own personalized one, just in case there was something that you didn't quite understand. Because while it is a half-hour session, there can be some stuff that can be a little bit tricky. So yeah, do let us know.
Great. Sorry about this, guys. Extra slow there, of course.
Just getting there, just a sec.
Great.
Awesome.
There we go. Fantastic. So just refreshing my page there, so it's just updated. So everyone will have a different look and view of the portal. This view here is from an administrator's perspective, as well as the role manager. So by default, everyone in the portal is a learner, but there's no different site that you see. It's just you get the responsibility of additional pages and some additional rights that you can kind of do within the portal. So what we're going to go through here is this page here called Portal Settings, only accessible to the administrative team and found in the drop-down menu in our name. Now, this is the page that we use to configure the portal to our liking, set up the branding, as well as some of those settings. It's also kind of the first step that we get you guys to take to ensure that you're on the right path for rolling it out to your team and going live, just so that we know you've set it up the way you want it to be set up for your team. Now, any decisions that you do make on this aren't kind of set in stone or locked in. You can always update these at any time you like. So inside portal information here, we have the ability to customize that welcome message we saw on the dashboard. We can also change the privacy policy in terms of service if we like, but these aren't mandatory fields. So don't feel like you have to put in anything there. It's just up to you if you do. If you would like to put something in there, you can. The next one is the theme. Now, this is the portal branding that I was talking about. This is a very fun page. We can put in our logos and images and colors and things like that. So to change an image, you simply hit the X. It'll then give you all the right parameters and sizing and things like that for that space. Anything you update and change, always scroll to the bottom and hit Save Changes, and that will then reflect. Inside portal color, we have the ability here to type in an actual color and it'll give us additional colors to add. So I've gone for green at 600 here and we'll hit Save Changes. Great. Configuration. This is essentially the setup of how the portal will run. So on that dashboard, we call those dashboard blocks. Now you can add or take away different blocks to it. Currently, I've just got my recent courses and activities, like I mentioned, but we can also have suggested courses turned on, as well as the ability to invite users quickly via an email. Now, some of you would prefer this to be a very simple setup, so our learners aren't getting distracted by too much noise or complications. So you can definitely just leave it on my recent courses, which is what we kind of recommend for the first time, just to ensure it's nice and simple. I will run through just kind of the important parts of this page. There are a few other additional fields we won't cover, so feel free to scroll through all of this and just ensure that you're happy with how it is set up. But this enabled applications, we can actually hit the Allow Register button, which will give the ability for people to gain or create an account for your portal if they have access to your login page. So it might be worthwhile leaving this turned off just so you can have control over who is in your portal and consuming your licenses. Course authors is another good one. I've got this turned on. What this means is if we create some content, it simply means that you as the author won't be shown as a course author. It'll just be anonymous author saying, it looks like it's just coming from the company rather than a specific individual. Groups and discussion, we do have that turned on, and this is where we create those discussion groups, and that can either be based on departments or locations or even job roles. So it's a really useful space to assign appropriate learning to those groups and just make sure everyone's on track with doing what they should be doing. There are a few other benefits of groups that we will touch on in a moment, but we scroll to the bottom and we hit submit.
Mickey just wanted to know if we could just see those top dashboard blocks just one more time, if that's all right.
Yeah, so the My Recent Courses will show anything that is currently in progress, so you and your learners can just continue that without having to go to the My Learning page and click in progress. It's just right there on the dashboard. So as soon as they log in, they can see it. Activities work similar to Facebook notifications. Benefit of this being if you want to just quickly track anything, you can see it all in one space. suggested courses will give you suggestions from the courses you have completed, as well as you'll select some of the different things that you're into, different topics, as well as what role you are and things like that. And then invite user will give you that ability to quickly put in an email and shoot them off a link to invite them. Hope that answered your question. Portal content selection. This is a really nifty tool. It shows currently all 5,000 plus courses are showing inside my Explore page. Now we can have a custom selection of this. So rather than there being over 5,000 courses, we can actually narrow that down to a hand-picked selection that is going to be relevant to us, our learning goals and our business. So if there are, 1,000 irrelevant courses, which there may be because there are so many, it might be worthwhile to use this custom selection. So I'll quickly show you how to use that. You uncheck this one, tick this one off, and use select content. And we can now go into what is similar to the Explore page. We can look for content, and we can now hit the plus button to add to our custom selection. So we can now see only 8 will be showing inside the Explore page from the premium content. It will also show all of the content that you have also made yourself. So we'll just change that back to subscribed. We'll move on to notifications. So notifications, really good. It's all the in-app and email notifications you will receive as either the learner, the manager, or the admin. Essentially, all the default ones are good to be ticked off, but just scroll through. There are heaps in there. So anything relevant for you guys, I will turn on. But for example, if you enroll your learner into a course, we want to make sure that they're getting notified about this so that they can jump in and complete that. Plan and billing. This will be your subscription to GO1. So this will be specific to whatever you are paying for GO1. It'll also give you the ability to kind of check what your capacity is. So you can see here that this one has exceeded a number, so we can upgrade this plan. It won't actually block you out or prevent more users to the portal. So feel free to get in touch with your appropriate customer success manager and start that if you need to go up in a tier for more users. And the last one here is set up account, and this will also show up the top. Now, this is a really, really handy page for you as the learners or the admin to kind of figure out how you want your account set up. And if you've forgotten how to do anything, you can navigate to set up account and just use it as a bit of a checklist. So if you had forgotten how to do the portal colors, for example, we can click on this one here and it'll actually navigate straight to that section for us, which is a very handy tool. So I'd recommend everyone here to jump into that setup account page today and just familiarize yourself further with the portal. Great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through a few of these kind of up along the top, and then we'll move more into how we go about course creation. So this is my learning page. We'll go through this pretty quickly, but it's essentially where specific to you as a learner, because everyone is a learner, what is currently in progress, what is assigned, and what's completed. Now, we do have 3 different types of content within GO1. We have a course, a learning resource, and an award. Now, the first is a learning resource, and what this is it's an individual learning item. So just think of it as a one-off PDF document or a one-off video or a one-off interactive file. So it just sits separately by itself. A course accumulates those learning items all in one area inside of a course. So for example, a course can be made up of a PDF, some text, a video, and a quiz to test their knowledge. So it puts all those items into one space. And what sits above that is an award. Awards won't exist in your portal until you have created them yourself. An award is essentially different learning resources or courses accumulated into the one area on a topic. The benefit of this being we can actually put expiries on awards, and the other benefit being we can actually put together both your own content you have created and GO1 premium content. So it's very commonly used for things like inductions for new starters, where you have your own privacy policies and things like that, as well as GO1 compliance content. Assigned, anything that has been assigned to your learner, whether it's an award or a course or a resource, will sit in here. There's a bit of a difference between enrolling and assigning. The major difference being that if we assign a course to a learner, they will be notified via an email, but we haven't hit the start button for them. So they will have to navigate to the My Learning page and click on Assigned for them to see it there, other than it being shot off in an email. Now, enrollment is different because if we're actually hitting the start button for them, and it will show in their in progress page. The benefit of this being we can actually bulk enroll everyone, so we can do it all in one hit. The only limitation is if you want due dates and if they're important, you will have to use assigned, as we can only use a due date for when we assign things. Now, there's a bit of a trick. If we do want to do it in bulk and we do want a due date, that's when we would use a group, because we can bulk assign learning to a group as well as put on a due date, and we'll cover that in a little bit. Anything that does have a due date will sit on this schedule page and will sit along this little timeline for us to track our learning in terms of due dates and ensure that, you know, our learners are actually prioritizing that learning based on their due dates. So we can see I've been pretty naughty. A lot of it's actually overdue, but if I just scroll a little bit further, we can see here some of these have a due date of today, so it would make sense to complete those that are overdue. Completed. Now, these are all the courses and awards and resources that are completed. The benefit of this page, and what's really cool, is if we click into a course, for example, so let's just find the Power of Video, we can click into this. We can actually head to this completion history page. And we can now see when I started and when I finished it, as well as the ability to generate a certificate of completion, which is really nice hard copy for our learners to print out, stick it on their fridge, and feel like they're achieving a lot, which is great. Now, this section, this is a common question, so I'll just quickly answer if it comes through, but it's not a customizable certificate. It's just very standardized, but it will cover, you know, it'll automatically change who it's presented to, who it was from, and when it was completed. They can also scroll to the bottom and hit download there. Lovely, that's my learning. Next, we'll quickly touch on is my team. Now, this is a page that is only accessible or viewable if you are a manager inside the portal. The benefit of this page, if you have been assigned a team to look after, here you can see I've got 4 people that I'm currently their manager, and I can quickly track their progress. So in this overview page, you get a bit of a brief idea, but if we do click into Anne-Marie, for example, I can actually have a bit of a tracking look at what her learning records are, what she's completed, what's assigned, and things like that. And the other cool thing is I can actually directly enroll her or assign her learning from her profile, which is really cool. We can also reset her password if she has forgotten it. And that's my team very briefly. There is a little bit more we can do in here in terms of reporting, but we'll touch on that at a later date. Great, so now we're gonna just quickly skip over the My Teaching page, and we're gonna jump into Explore, and we're gonna look at how we actually find the right content and how we then go about assigning that individually or bulk enrolling. So here inside Explore, we can see my content selection is to show 5,000 plus courses. We can use this little search bar to actually look up content. So for example, a common one might be something like leadership. My recommendation is to type in a pretty broad topic. It'll give you over 600 courses, but then we do have the tools built to actually narrow that search down. So here we've got all these leadership courses. We've got over 600. Now what we can do is we can use this little tags feature on the left-hand side to narrow that search down. So for the keyword leadership, we can actually use something like change management or communication skills or conflict management, and that'd be a way to kind of filter that search down to something more specific. So we've got a leadership course on 1 minute avoiding escalations, which is always handy. Now, if we were to then click into a course, we can have a bit of a read within about the course, who it's best for. This is a pretty short course, so it's not a very good example, but what we can then do is we can directly individually assign this to someone by clicking on the 3 dots again, the same way we would in someone's profile. And we can now hit the Assign Learning button. This will then give us the ability here to type in someone's name. It'll pop up their name if they exist in the portal. Someone exists in the portal. No, well, you would type in their name or their email, and you can individually assign that to someone. And then what the benefit being, with assigning, we can then put a due date on it for someone and hit the assign button. Now, we can also use the reports page here by clicking on reports. And this will show us anyone who is currently enrolled or in progress or doing anything here. But we can see no one in my portal has done this course. So I can click on this enroll users button, which will populate a list of all of my users. And what we can do from here is we can select all of them, or we can select just a group of them to put them straight in. So let's just choose a few people here. And what we can do is click on the 3 dots, and we can select all 5 to directly enroll into this course. So we can see 5 users have been enrolled, and this report will now be updated to show that everyone has been enrolled, which will give us the status not started if I refresh the page. Any questions in the meantime?
No questions. Pretty
going good?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
Keep questions coming, guys. If there's anything that you want to know, happy to.
So that will just populate with all the rest of them. It's just a bit slow, I'm sorry, but you can see that not started. So if anyone like came here, actioned that and clicked on the start now, it'll show a little start date of when he actioned it, which is great. Now, so that's the second way to deliver content to your team. The third way is to use the discussion page and create a group and assign the learning to that group. Within discussion here, we can actually hit on the all, and we can see a list of all of the groups that you individually are a part of. And as an administrator in the platform, we can click on the create button and we can create a new group. So let's call this webinar group 1, and we can hit this create. Now, by default, the group will be set up to be a public group, and we can see that by the little world icon here. So it might be worthwhile to go into settings and change this to a private group by changing public to no and hitting update. And we can now see a little lock associated to the group, meaning only the people inside of it will know it exists. So if you have it based on departments or locations or job roles, it's really handy to make them private just so the right people are in there. But if we have a company-wide group, we can make it public so that anyone can join. Question?
Yeah, Chris was just wanting to know, how do we enroll into groups? It's a great question, Chris.
Yep, so we don't enroll into groups, we assign, so how we get users into the groups, is that what you mean?
No due date for enrolling groups.
Oh yeah, so there's no due dates for enrollment at all. If we want due dates and we want to do it in bulk, we use the groups here, which what we're going through, to assign learning to a group. So I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. If we click on this add button, we can simply type in someone's name, we can click on them, and we can now invite them to this portal. It's not so much inviting them, they will get notified about it, but you're more adding them to that group there. So we can see Lexi is now a part of this group, and at any time we can also remove her. So now that we've got our group members in the group, we can click on learnings, and this is where we can assign learning in bulk to a group, and we can put a due date on it. So if we click on the assign button, we can search for some content that we're looking for. So let's just say leadership or something like that, whatever we like. We can put in, let's just say introduction to leadership, and we can now assign a due date. So let's give them 1 month and assign. Now, I know you're kind of just searching within that. So the best thing to do would be to use the explore page to find the content you're looking for, so you can have a bit of a read about it before you put it in a group. Get the exact title and put that in there. The other thing you can do is use quotation marks, and that way it'll only search for exactly that course.
Hey guys, I've just included that link there. There was a couple of you asking for
the GO1 Help Center.
Yeah, there's a lot of information, so I've just put that in there as well. There's a lot of questions coming through. Now, with this, I know it can be a bit confusing to read the answer to your question and follow on to what Jack's saying. So what I might do is I might just answer the questions. It might be easy to answer the questions at the end. That way you don't lose track of where he's up to.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep those questions coming. They're great. I just want to make sure that you guys, get the most out of what Jack's saying. But yeah, happy to go back to any questions as well.
Yeah. And I know it's like, you know, especially if you're seeing this for the first time, it can definitely be an information overload. The best thing to do is take it all in, you refer back to the recording that we will post, and also use all the help resources we have, such as the GO1 Help Center. And while we're on that topic, as an administrator, we can also use this little blue chat box in the right corner, which is your 24/7 access to our global support team, which you can start a new conversation with them to help you. Now, these guys are best placed to help answer anything support related. So if something's not working the way you think it should be, or, you know, if you need any quick fixes or help, they're best placed to get back to you really quickly. So if you need a quick fix, definitely use this functionality. It's there to help you. And you can also access the Help Center via this little search here. But yeah, my other recommendation is to always just use it as much as you can, get your hands dirty and just play around. And if you get stuck, you definitely have more than enough help resources. Cool. So what we've just quickly gone through is creating a private group, adding the appropriate members in here, as well as assigning learning to this group. Now, there are a couple of tricks. If we do have a much larger group, if we've got a company, we've got 100 users that we want to put in there, it would take a while to individually put them all in. So I will show you quickly, when we upload our users, we can do everything in bulk via a CSV file, as well as putting them all into their appropriate group straight away. So that's a bit of a nifty trick as well. What we're going to go through now is the My Teaching page, and this is where we do all of our course creation. Just keeping track of time here, we can't spend too much time here. So what we're going to do is just create a nice simple course. So if we go into resources here, we will have the ability to create those different content types that I spoke about earlier. And this resources page will be essentially a library filled with all of the content you have made, whether it's an award, a course, or a resource. And that's specific to you as the admin. So if you have multiple admins inside the portal, that each person's page will be different. So if we click on the create button, we can see those different types we can make. So sitting at the top is that award, followed by the course, as well as those individual items. So what we're going to do today is make a nice simple course. Webinar 1. You give it a title, as well as an about this course. So, you know, webinar test course. And we can hit save. So as an admin, we can see who the author was, but when we publish that, because we have it turned on, it will show no author there. So we can see we're kind of in a drafting mode. It says only me here, which means no one else knows this exists. So we can take our time to build this out, knowing it's not sitting inside your portal yet. It's just in a draft mode. So what we need to do is we need to add a module, and a module is simply something that just holds, you know, all of the learning items inside of it. So we can break it up in different sections if we like. I kind of liken it to chapters of the book. So chapter 1, you know, and all the resources in there. So we've got our first module. We can now add those individual items. You can now see there's quite a few more options because we also have now the assessment items. So assessment items like quizzes or assignments can only be put inside of a course, and you can't have them individually. So let's have some text. Let's have a doc, a video, and let's test their knowledge with a quiz. And you can obviously give them all the appropriate titles that you like. So we've set up the structure here to the course. Now what we can do is we can hit the little edit. Cool.
And we're back.
All good? Everyone see us? Share screen. Can you let me know if you can see this screen? Great. Cool. So let me just jump back here. So what I had done, if I go to edit again, was I created the course structure and I created those individual items by clicking on add learning items. So you can choose whatever you like. We then clicked on this 3 dots and clicked on edit there. And that will take us into the editing of this text item. So what we can see here is I've just added some free text. You can put in whatever you like. And now what you can do is hit the save and exit button. And this will you know, this is now from a learner's perspective. So this is how they would view it. So if we hit next, again, from a learner's perspective, there's nothing there. So we need to click on the edit button, which will take us inside to add content. So with a document item, these are the different supported file types as well as the size. But if we browse document here, I'll just put something in here. Moment. This is our premium course catalog, which you guys can definitely gain access to. And this is just a PDF. So you'll see it embeds itself nicely into this area for your learners to just scroll through it and read it. Now, the other benefit of using a PDF is you can actually print it and they can have a copy themselves of it. Next is the video item. We hit edit, which will take us inside. Now, with all video items, we have two options. The first is embedding a YouTube or Vimeo link, or the second option is to actually uploading a video file. So you can put in whatever you like here, or upload a video file there. Now, we do also have the ability to force users to watch the entirety of the video, and I know that sounds like a pretty silly or strong word, but the benefit of this being, you know, if you have a 3-minute compliance or policies video that you just don't want them to skip through, you can definitely use this and it will automatically mark it as completed once the time has lapsed. Next is the quiz, and I'll show you how to build a quiz. So to through two multiple choice, but you do also have the option there to do matching, fill in the blank and long answer, and whatever you like. So we hover it and we can see a little ad. These questions. So this is number 1. Equals answers. So 1. Have as many correct. 2 plus 2. 4. And use this is for people to do the things like true or false. So, you know, have policies procedure just to ensure you guys have your bases for have written. Moments. The other cool thing with quizzes, we do have the ability here to change things of how you have unlimited complete. You know, some people prefer them to only have 1 attempt, and they have to get 100. If this decides to load a little bit quicker for the course we created. From there, what people... Hello, I hope everyone's still here. I'll just reshare the screen. Sorry about that, guys.
Sorry, guys. Everyone's still there? You can see us now? Yep.
Yeah, we're here. Great. Sorry about that, guys. So what we had done was we just set up a really simple course, and now we're going to run through it as if we were the learner sitting that course here. So they would come in and hit enroll once we've assigned this to them or put it in their group or enrolled them for them. So they can click on the open. They can now read that free text we put in there, and we can mark it as completed and move on to the document. So you can read the document again and mark that as completed once they've scrolled through and read it, and move on. Now, I will just jump out. If your learners want to do this in bite size, if it's a longer course or, you know, they need to go do whatever they need to do for the rest of the day, they can just leave where they're up to as long as they've hit mark as completed, and they can jump back into where they left off and not have to do the entire course again, which is always handy. So the video, they would watch that, and if we had forced users to watch, it would automatically mark it for them. Mark as completed, and we can now sit the quiz, and I'm hoping this has been set up. Yeah. So this is that default settings that I was touching on earlier before we got cut off, but we can hit take quiz. So 1 + 1 = 2, and the 2 + 2 = 4. Now the beauty of quizzes are, because we've set up the answers in the background, we don't need an assessor or someone to be watching these quizzes. They will automatically mark it for us and track their progress, which is great. So we can head back to the course overview page, and within my progress, we can see here that I've completed all the items as well as passed the assessment piece. And inside reports, what we can also do here, if, for example, I didn't get it correct and I hadn't passed that quiz, I know it says in progress, but it just hasn't updated properly yet. But let's just say I got one of those questions wrong. We can click on the actions button, and we can click into mark submission. And this will give us a nice little spot to see what answers Jack had actually checked. And if we do have multiple attempts, we can also see which attempts it was. So whether it was first or his second try, and we can see what he got wrong and help him out. He can then head into completion history, and he can then generate that certificate. And that's how we use My Teaching to create a course, but we can also add that new course we have created to an award and put it in combination with GO1 premium content. And if anyone would like to see how to do that, feel free to use the Help Center and just type in awards, and I'm sure there'll be a help article to help you out. Fantastic. Now what we're going to run through to finish it all off today is this little Administer page, only accessible to the administrators, and is where we do all of our user management as well as our reporting on the company. So within Overview, it gives you a brief look at what's going on, but the two common pages you will use is Users as well as Enrollments. So if we click into Users, this will generate a list of all our current active users inside the portal. We can also see what roles they are and things like that. The benefit of this being, for example, if Anna here email address, her password, we can simply click on the drop down next to her name and send her a quick reset password, but we can also edit her profile. So we might do this because she has left the company, for example. We might want to change what department she's in or what role she's in or who she's even being managed by. So feel free to edit their profiles as you see fit. And to add a new user to the portal, we click on the Create button and we can fill out their details. Now, our unique identifier is their email address, so just ensure that that is correct. You put in their first, last name, what role they are, who they're being managed by, if you've got managers already set up in the portal, as well as that active. So making sure that if their status is active, they're active in the portal, and if they're blocked, they won't show and won't have access to the portal. We always make sure the sender welcome email is ticked off, and this is the only way for them to gain access to the portal. So it'll send them a little welcome email, which you can customize with a link in it for them to create a password. Now, to do it in bulk, we simply click on the 3 dots and we use import. And this will give us the ability to upload a CSV file, but it's always really important to click here to download that sample CSV file. And the reason we do that is to ensure that we have the correct formatting so it will actually upload correctly. So we'll quickly run through this one, and I'll open this up and share that screen once it's loaded. A moment. Once I figure out how to share this one. There we go. You can't see it on mine. So let me change my. Nope, that's not right. Okay, we'll just move on from that. There is lots of help resources on how to do it in bulk, and Matt will put that link straight into the chat now for you guys to refer to. But yeah, definitely download the sample, fill it out as you need, and you can upload it here. And it will also help you. So if you got it incorrect, it will show you which users didn't upload successfully and which ones did. there are a couple of little tips and tricks that we do have for you to ensure it does upload successfully. But Matt's going to put that link in now. Great. Moving on, the last one we will touch on is this enrollments page. And this is where we do all of the reporting on the company in terms of its learning records and how we're tracking and things like that. So the default report is enrollment management. Now this shows absolutely everything, any type, any status, and it's not really a consumable report. So you can see here that we've got over 1,400 results, 74 pages, and it would just be a headache to go through all of them. So what I've done is I've created some more consumable reports, which you can see up here. And we're going to run through how to create some of the really basic and broad ones that you can use, and you can then filter at any time you need to. So if we click on the filter button, you can see there's a little default filter here that says user statuses are active. But if we click on the plus button here, we can now add some new filters to this. So if we see, my recommendation is to use a type and a status. So if we use a type, we can either use an award or a course are the common ones. So let's use a course, and we can now do a status, and something might be completion. So we hit filter. This is all the completed courses inside of this portal, and this is a very consumable report for you now to pull. We can see this little star in the top left. This means we have changed the default report. So we now need to hit save as, and we could put in something like completed reports. And we can hit save. Now, the reason we would create quite a broad report, if we click on this, it'll then take us to that report we made, is because we can then fine tune it as we need to, dependent on quarterly or monthly reports or a specific course, for example. We can then filter that actual course report we've already done by doing things like a title, so if it's a specific course, or a date, so in the last 30 days or 90 days or something like that. These are all what we call live data. The benefit of this being you don't actually have to keep updating or keep doing these reports. It actually just automatically will populate the report you built. So if any more completions come through, we can just click on this and it will automatically populate those in there for you. So other ones I have are things like in progress reports. I've got a pie chart on status. So to do something like that, you use the config button, and you can now have different display options. So if you want a pivot table or a histogram or whatever you like, you can do it based on whatever. So whether it's a type or a status, you can then just hit apply, and this will then change. So these are the different types inside of my portal here. And that's how we use reports. We can get really granular, make sure that they're really detailed reports, or we can have really nice broad ones that we just use. The benefit of that being, if we go into a completed courses one, for example, we can then hit the select all in the top left, and you can actually export that as a CSV. So if someone's knocking on your door wanting the reports for completions, you can definitely export that and provide it to anyone, or even just take a screenshot if you're, as well as a pretty basic session on training. We definitely can go a lot more granular into a lot more detail within the portal, but we just want to make sure we keep it nice and simple so it's not too much information overload, which I'm sure it probably already is for a lot of you. But yeah, definitely if you have really specific questions, please feel free to reach out to your customer success manager, and they'll be more than happy to go through more in detail to your needs. But now for the next kind of 12 minutes while we've got it, we'll go through some of the questions that came through. And please feel free to put any more inside of here for us to refer to. And also, just while we're on resources, don't forget to use the little chat box to start new conversations like we talked about earlier. All right, what were our first questions?
So, I'm just going to scroll up to the top. So we've gone through most of them as we're going through. Dashboard blocks, application settings. Enrolling into groups, so no due date for enrolling groups.
Yep.
Can managers create groups as well as just for those who they're managing?
Yeah, so the way we probably would recommend to set it up is so that only administrators can create groups, just so that we're not getting kind of too many groups or too complicated. You just set up the appropriate groups and put them in there to manage it. The managers will use their My Team page to assign learning to people, or to even just, keep track of what's going on. But inside of portal settings and under configuration, we do have the ability to allow all users to create groups. Now, that's not specific to just managers. It will allow learners to create groups as well. And this is why we would prefer you as administrators to have the control over what groups are being created, who's inside your portal, and how it's operating.
Chris, can you report by group or specific course?
Yep, you absolutely can. As I was touching on earlier, it's great to have those broad reports that you can then fine tune as you need. So let's do it specific to a group here. I'm going to just find a name of a group first. I'm not sure if this is going to work, as my data is just quite they're just examples, but let's just say sales team, for example. If we go into enrollment management, we can add a new filter of which you can choose group, and you can now put in something like contains phrase, sales team, and filter based on the sales team group. So this is all the enrollment management data for that particular group. We could then even fine tune it specific to a title if we would like.
And for a specific course?
Yep, so for a specific course, let's say how to triple your sales, we can add an additional filter to this one. We can click on the plus. We can now hit title. Again, contains phrase. It doesn't have to be the exact one, but if we just type in something like triple sales and we filter, that'll, oh no, that doesn't do it twice, triple your sales. That should put it twice. Yep, there we go. And we can now see enrollment management data specifically for the sales group and specifically for this course. Is the trial portal the same as the real portal? Yep, so your trial portal, you shouldn't have a trial portal. It should just be for you to do as much testing as you like. We can always clean out your data. So if you want a fresh canvas for you to get ready to roll out to your team, go absolutely nuts, do as much testing and have as much fun as you like, because we can always click on here and we can actually delete all the enrollment management data. I wouldn't recommend deleting all 2,000 enrollment management things. Just delete specific ones that were testing and keep the real ones in there, just to show if you have completed anything, it'd be great to see all your completions in there so you can build up your profile.
And the last thing, just with that, obviously, before you go live, the last thing you really want to do is be adding your users.
Yeah.
So yeah, do all your testing and everything beforehand, and then the last thing you should do would be add your users.
Yeah, awesome. Any other questions come through? If not, make sure you guys are reaching out to your CSM and getting ready to go live. It's always great to make sure that you guys are having a big play around.
Unfortunately not, Mickey. We can't customize certificates.
Yeah.
We are limited in that aspect. However, I mean, you could create an award specific to, say, a course, and in that way you could kind of customize it. But no, you can't actually customize it.
Yeah, so these certificates are only for courses. You won't get a certificate for an award. They aren't customizable at this stage, but it is definitely feedback that we are receiving a lot. And we know that our product team would definitely like to have a bit more fun in this area to allow you guys to customize it. You can even just, take a screenshot of it as is. Use a free tool like Canva and do up one yourself if you really are into the certificates for your learners.
Awesome. So guys, I sent you the intercom.help link before. So if you just scroll up in the chat window, it's just up there. I really recommend that you save that, just bookmark it, because it is really helpful. Obviously this webinar that Jack's done such a great job of, you'll be able to access again, because he's recorded this, so you'll be able to have a view. But I mean, if you've got this help search that we're just looking at now, everything you need is on here.
Yeah, and we're always updating this because our portals are, GO1 is always growing so quickly, and we're always changing it to make sure it's a better user experience for you guys. So if you do have any ideas as well for the portal, feel free to shoot them through to us in an email, and we'll take it on board and pass it on to the product. We're always looking for the feedback. It's what makes us grow and be better as well. But I think that's everything from us today. Again, if you need any help, feel free to reach out to your CSM. And we hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the week, and we look forward to hearing from you all soon.
Thanks, guys.